Indus's eyes widened in disbelief as the ancient human emerged from his cryopod, frost still clinging to his skin. He was alive, a relic of a species she thought had gone extinct 800,000 years ago when the Galactic Council obliterated Earth. The cryopod hissed open, releasing a blast of frigid air into the musty spacecraft. Logan Henry blinked, taking in his surroundings with a trained soldier's eye. Indus and her companion stood before him, hands hovering near their plasma pistols. The tension was palpable. "Where am I? What year is it?" Logan barked, his voice hoarse from centuries of disuse. Indus studied him warily. "You're aboard a derelict human vessel. It's been 800,000 years since Earth was destroyed by the Galactic Council. We thought your kind were extinct." Logan's heart pounded as the gravity of his situation hit him. Earth, gone. His people, wiped out. And here he was, the last human, facing down two aliens from the very council responsible for his species' annihilation. He checked the other cryopods. All failed, their occupants long dead. It was just him now, the final bastion of humanity in a hostile universe that wanted his kind erased from existence. But something had changed in those 800,000 years. Indus revealed the Galactic Council had fallen, leaving the galaxy in turmoil as factions battled for supremacy. And despite her people's role in Earth's destruction, she seemed curious, intrigued by Logan's miraculous survival. Logan knew he couldn't trust her. Not yet. But he also knew he couldn't navigate this strange new reality alone. He needed allies if he was going to uncover the truth behind Earth's demise and avenge his fallen brethren. As they explored deeper into the ship, Logan made a discovery that shifted the balance. A cache of advanced human weapons and tech, perfectly preserved. With this ace up his sleeve, he finally had a chance to tip the scales, to make the galaxy regret crossing humanity. The stakes had never been higher. Logan was the last hope for the human race. Failure meant the permanent extinction of his species and their legacy forever lost to the ages. But if he could master this new galactic landscape, forge the right alliances, and harness the power of the rediscovered human arsenal, he might just teach those alien bastards a lesson they'd never forget. It was time to show the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into the night, that even a single human was a force to be reckoned with. Earth may be gone, but Logan Henry would make damn sure its memory, and its vengeance, lived on. Logan stared at Indus and her Illyrian companion, mistrust etched on his rugged face. The hum of the derelict ship filled the tense silence as they sized each other up. "Look, I don't like this any more than you do," Logan said gruffly. "But if we're going to survive out here, we need to work together. Pool our resources, share intel." Indus nodded slowly. "Agreed. Your combat skills and human weapons will be valuable assets. In return, we can provide knowledge of the current galactic situation and contacts with other factions." Logan pursed his lips. Trusting aliens went against every instinct, but what choice did he have? He was a lone human adrift in a hostile universe. Reluctantly, he extended his hand. "Deal." And so their uneasy alliance began. The Zorgans were first on their hit list, a ruthless species with advanced tech and a thirst for domination. Infiltrating the Zorgan outpost required stealth and firepower. Luckily, Logan had both in spades. He and the Illyrians crept through the base, Logan's human weapons making short work of any Zorgon guards. Deeper in the facility, they hit pay dirt, intel on a new planet-killer weapon. Logan's blood ran cold. It sounded just like the one that obliterated Earth. They dug further. The Zorgans planned to use it to seize galactic control and crush any resistance. Just as they were about to leave with the critical data, alarms blared. Zorgan forces flooded in, plasma rifles blazing. Logan and the Illyrians fought their way out in a hail of laser fire and screams. As they blasted away from the base, Logan knew two things. History was in danger of repeating itself, and he'd be damned if he let the Zorgons wipe out more planets. But they couldn't do it alone. They needed allies to take on the Zorgon threat. That opportunity arose in a run-in with a ragtag group of alien rebels fighting Zorgon oppression. The rebels were skeptical of the human at first. They'd heard the stories, but seeing Logan decimate a Zorgon patrol single-handedly with superior human tech changed their tune real quick. These underdogs needed an edge. Logan gave them one. He proposed an alliance, a united front against the Zorgons. The rebels were in. Together, they'd hit the bastards where it hurt. But even as the coalition grew, doubts festered in Logan's mind. Could he really trust Indus and her friend? What if this was all some alien long game he couldn't see? Late one night cycle, Logan pulled Indus aside, eyes narrowed. Level with me. What's your angle here? Why help a human after your people screwed mine? Indus met his gaze. Believe it or not, we want the Zorgons stopped too. And like it or not, you're our best shot. We need each other. Logan searched her inscrutable alien face, looking for signs of deceit. He found none, but he'd been burned before. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not yet. I'll work with you because I have to, he said at last. But if I think for a second you're playing me, you'll see what else humans are famous for besides hardheads and holding a grudge. Indus simply nodded, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Respect? Understanding? Deception? He couldn't be sure. But one thing was certain. Stopping the Zorgons had to come first. Even if it meant working with aliens he couldn't fully trust. Even if it ripped open the wounds of his loss and tested the steel of his reserve. He was human after all, the very last. And he'd fight like hell to keep the memory of his people alive in the face of annihilation. At any expense. Logan stood before the assembled rebel team, his face etched with the weight of their mission. The Zorgon weapons facility loomed ahead, a fortress of gleaming metal and crackling energy fields. This was it, their chance to stop the planet killer before it could wreak havoc across the galaxy. We hit hard and fast, Logan said, his voice low and intense. Indus, you're with me. We'll punch through their outer defenses and make for the central control chamber. The rest of you spread out and keep their forces occupied. Use the human tech. It'll give us an edge they won't expect. The rebels nodded grimly, a motley crew of alien races united against a common foe. Logan felt a pang in his chest. How many would make it back? As one, they surged forward. Logan's plasma rifle spat blue fire, cutting down Zorgon guards before they could even raise the alarm. Indus moved like liquid beside him, her own weapon singing a deadly song. They fought their way deeper into the facility, the sounds of battle echoing through sterile corridors. Logan and Indus worked in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots and taking down enemy after enemy. Not bad for a primitive human, Indus quipped as Logan dropped 3 Zorgons with pinpoint headshots. Logan allowed himself a grim smile, just getting warmed up. They reached the central chamber, its massive doors sealed tight. Logan planted a breaching charge and they burst in, guns blazing. What they found inside stopped them cold. A Zorgon commander stood before a swirling vortex of energy, the superweapon's core. But it was the design that made Logan's blood run cold. He'd seen it before, in classified Earth files from centuries ago. Ah, the last human, the Zorgon sneered. Come to see our crowning achievement? You should be honored. We based it on the very weapon that wiped out your pathetic world. Logan's mind reeled. The implication hit him like a physical blow. You're saying the Galactic Council used Zorgon tech to destroy Earth? The commander laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Oh, it goes deeper than that, human. But you won't live long enough to learn the truth. The Zorgon lunged, energy blade humming to life. Logan barely managed to dodge, the weapon scorching his armor. They clashed in a brutal dance, Logan's human reflexes pitted against alien strength and technology. Logan! Indus cried out, pinned down by Zorgon reinforcements flooding the chamber. With a surge of desperate strength, Logan disarmed the commander and put a plasma bolt through its head. He sprinted to the control console, fingers flying as he input the kill codes they'd obtained from their intelligence. The facility rocked with explosions. Logan grabbed Indus and they ran, the rebel team fighting a desperate rearguard action. Alien bodies littered the corridors, Zorgon and rebel alike. They burst out into open space, their ship waiting. As they lifted off, Logan watched the facility crumble. The cost had been high, too high. Good aliens had died to get them here. Hours later, as the adrenaline faded, Logan sat alone in the ship's observation deck. Indus found him there. Her alien features softened with concern. "You did what had to be done," she said softly. "I've never seen anyone fight like that. Your people, they must have been formidable." Logan's eyes sharp. "Yeah, and someone wanted us gone badly enough to wipe out an entire planet. The Zorgons, the Council. I'm going to find out who was really behind it all." Indus placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll find out together. You're not alone anymore, Logan." He met her gaze, seeing genuine respect there, maybe even the beginnings of trust. Logan nodded slowly. The last human and an alien who'd once been his enemy, united against a galaxy of lies. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Logan paced the cramped confines of their ship, mind racing. The Zorgon commander's words echoed in his head. Earth's destruction, Zorgon tech, a deeper conspiracy. It all pointed to one thing. "We need to find those council archives," Logan declared, smacking his fist on a console. "If they used our own tech against us, there has to be a paper trail." Indus nodded, her alien features set with tenacity. "I've heard whispers of an abandoned outpost. It might hold the answers we seek." Their ragtag team of rebels gathered around as Logan laid out the plan. They'd traverse half the galaxy, risking life and limb, but it was their only shot at the truth. Days blurred into weeks as they pushed their ship to its limits. Logan's human reflexes were put to the test, navigating treacherous spatial anomalies that threatened to tear them apart. "Zorgon patrol dead ahead," the Illyrian shouted. Logan's hands flew across the controls, executing a series of impossible maneuvers. The Zorgon ships screamed past, their energy beams barely missing the hull. Finally, they reached their destination. A desolate world hung in space, and there, orbiting it like a parasitic growth, was the outpost. "Looks like nobody's home," Logan muttered as they approached. But appearances were deceiving. As soon as they breached the outpost's perimeter, all hell broke loose. Automated turrets sparked to life, filling the air with searing plasma bolts. Logan led the charge, his human-made rifle cutting through defenses like they were made of paper. The team moved as one, covering each other's flanks as they pushed deeper into the facility. They rounded a corner and came face to face with something. A nightmarish amalgamation of teeth and claws that defied description. The former inhabitants of the outpost, twisted by time and isolation into predatory abominations. "Fall back," Logan roared, laying down suppressing fire as the creatures swarmed towards them. They fought their way through corridors choked with the beasts, each step a battle for survival. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, they stumbled into a vast chamber. And there, filling the room with its massive bulk, was a creature that dwarfed all the others. Intelligence gleamed in its many eyes as it regarded the intruders. The battle that followed pushed Logan to his absolute limits. His human speed and strength were barely enough to keep him one step ahead of the monster's attacks. His team fought valiantly, but they were outmatched. Logan watched in horror as one by one, they fell back, wounded or exhausted. "Logan!" Indus shouted over the din of battle. "The environmental controls, if I can overload them?" Understanding flashed between them. Logan nodded and charged the beast, drawing its attention. Indus sprinted for the control panel, her fingers flying over alien interfaces. The creature roared, sensing the threat. It lunged for Indus, but Logan was there, interposing himself between them. With a final keystroke, Indus activated the overload. The chamber filled with blinding light and deafening noise. When it cleared, the creature lay still. Panting, battered, but alive, they made their way to the central archives. What they found there shook Logan to his core. Files detailing a conspiracy within the Council, fears of humanity's potential, and worst of all, schematics for a terrifying weapon, built using stolen human technology. "They used our own creations against us," Logan whispered, his voice hollow. As the terrible truth sank in, a new sound cut through the silence, a distress beacon, faint but unmistakable. Another cryopod, another human. Logan's eyes hardened with newfound purpose. We're not done yet. There are more of us out there, and we're going to find them. The faint ping of the distress beacon echoed through the ship's corridors, a tantalizing promise of hope. Logan's fingers flew across the navigation controls, plotting a course into uncharted space. We're picking up energy readings, the Illyrian pilot announced, faint but consistent with human tech. Logan nodded, his eyes fixed on the monitor. Take us in. Nice and easy. The ship shuddered as they entered a treacherous field of plasma storms. Bolts of energy crackled across the hull, sensors screaming warnings. Logan gritted his teeth, compensating with split-second adjustments. Hostile patrol, 3 o'clock, someone shouted. Logan barrel rolled the ship, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts. The alien vessel screamed past, wheeling for another attack run. Evasive maneuvers, Logan ordered. We didn't come this far to get shot down now. For hours, they played a deadly game of cat and mouse, weaving through the storms and dodging patrols. Finally, they emerged into clear space, a desolate world hanging before them. That's it? One of the rebels asked, disappointment clear in his voice. Logan frowned. Looks can be deceiving. Take us down. As they entered the atmosphere, alarms blared. The ship bucked violently, systems failing left and right. Logan fought the controls, but it was a losing battle. Brace for impact. The world outside became a blur of fire and debris. With a bone-jarring crash, they slammed into the surface, skidding to a halt in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Logan pulled himself from the wreckage, assessing the damage. Anyone hurt? A chorus of groans answered him. They were alive, but the ship was a total loss. Indus, stay here with the team. See what you can salvage and keep an eye out for hostiles. The rest of you, with me. They set out across the barren landscape, following the energy signature. Hours passed under the glare of an alien sun before they stumbled upon the first signs of human habitation. A half-buried doorway, its access panel still flickering with power after centuries of neglect. Logan pried it open, revealing a dark tunnel stretching into the planet's depths. The air that rushed out was stale, thick with the dust of ages. Watch your step, Logan warned as they descended. The ruins stretched on for miles, a labyrinth of corridors and chambers. In what must have once been a control room, Logan found a battered computer terminal. His heart raced as he accessed the logs, but what he found turned his blood to ice. It's not a cryopod, he said, his voice hollow. It's a warning. These people, they were hunted, slaughtered. Before anyone could respond, a piercing wail cut through the air. Ancient defense systems sparked to life, filling the corridors with pulsing red light. We triggered something, Logan shouted. Move! They sprinted through the complex, but it was too late. Alien warriors materialized from hidden chambers, their segmented bodies dripping with weapons. The Krinthar had found them. Logan's rifle barked, downing 2 of the creatures in quick succession. But for every one that fell, 3 more took its place. They were surrounded, outgunned, with nowhere left to run. A familiar voice crackled over the comms. Logan, we're coming in hot! Indus and her team burst into the chamber, guns blazing. For a moment, it seemed like they might turn the tide. But the Krinthar kept coming, an endless tide of chitinous horror. There are too many, Indus shouted. You have to go, now! Before Logan could protest, Indus slammed her fist into a control panel. The floor beneath the Krinthar exploded in a chain reaction of detonations. The last thing Logan saw was Indus's determined face as the tunnel collapsed, burying her, the Illyrians, and scores of Krinthar under tons of rubble. Logan and the survivors fled, clawing their way to the surface. As they staggered into the harsh sunlight, the full weight of what had happened hit him. They had come seeking hope, only to find death and betrayal. The Krinthar, the Zorgans, the Council, all of them had conspired to wipe humanity from existence. Rage and grief warred within him as he looked at the battered remnants of his team. They were all that was left now, the last fragments of a once great species. "What do we do now?" one of the survivors asked, fear and uncertainty clear in his voice. Logan took a deep breath, pushing down the pain. There would be time to mourn later. Right now, they needed a leader. "We survive," he said, his voice hard with commitment. "We rebuild. And one day we'll make them remember why they feared us in the first place." He looked out at the horizon where their battered ship waited. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A new beginning for a people long thought dead. "Come on," Logan said, taking the first step forward. "We've got work to do."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.